Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. We are preparing for takeoff. Please ensure your seatbelt is fastened and your seat back is in the upright position. Thank you.
You paid $800 for that ticket. The airline, after paying for the plane, the fuel, the pilots, the cabin crew, the airport fees, the maintenance, the insurance, made about $11 from you. $11. And yet in 2023, the global airline industry generated over $900 billion in revenue. So where's all that money actually coming from? Because it is not coming from your tickets, not mostly. Stick with me for the next 15 minutes, because the way airlines actually make money is one of the most counterintuitive business models ever built. And by the end, you will understand something most passengers never figure out. There is one revenue stream hiding in plain sight that makes more profit than every seat on every plane combined. We'll get to that, but first, let's start with the thing everyone thinks they understand. A plane ticket is one of the most brutally competitive products on earth. You open Google Flights, you see 20 airlines offering the same routes. One is $11 cheaper. You quickly pick that one, every time. Airlines know this, which is why the ticket price, what you actually pay to sit in that seat, is often not the airline's main profit engine. Here's the math that most people don't see. A single flight from New York to Los Angeles on a narrow-body aircraft costs an airline roughly $30,000 to $40,000 to operate. Fuel alone is often 30 to 40% of that number. Adding crew salaries, airport landing fees, navigation charges, gate fees, ground handling, aircraft maintenance reserves, insurance, and then the cost of the plane itself, either lease payments or depreciation if they own it. By the time you add all that up, the airline needs to fill roughly 75 to 80% of those seats just to break even. That's called the break-even load factor, and it's the number that keeps the airline CEO awake at night. Here's a number that will genuinely shock you. The average net profit margin for a commercial airline in a good year is about 2 to 5%. For comparison, Apple's net margin is around 25%, Google is around 21%. Even a basic supermarket does better than most airlines. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in history, once said that investors would have been better off if someone had shot over Wright's plane at Kitty Hawk. He eventually invested in airlines anyway, and so during COVID. The point is, ticket revenue alone is a terrible business. Airlines have known this for decades, so they built something else on top of it. Cast your mind back to the 1990s. You bought a ticket, you got a seat, you got a meal, you got 2 check bags, you got a blanket, you got a newspaper, all included. Then in the early 2000s, the low-cost carriers changed everything. Ryanair, Southwest, Spirit, EasyJet, they looked at the bundle and said, what if we stripped out everything, made the base ticket as cheap as possible, and charged separately for every single thing? And the legacy carriers watched, then they copied it. This is called ancillary revenue. It is now one of the most important concepts in the entire airline business. In 2023, the global airline industry collected over $117 billion in ancillary revenue. $117 billion from fees. Spirit Airlines, often the punching bag of the aviation world, makes more money per passenger from ancillary fees than it does from the ticket itself. Think about what that means. Spirit's business model is essentially sell you the ticket so cheap you can't say no, then charge you for everything that makes flying bearable. The seat you choose, fee. The bag you packed, fee. Printing your boarding pass at the airport, fee. Picking a seat that's not in the middle, fee. And you pay them because at this point you're already at the airport. One thing you do not know is that this particular airline, Spirit Airline, will later fold up in May 2026. Now here's the flip side of ancillary revenue, and it's where the serious money is made. Business class. A business class seat from London to New York costs roughly $3,000 to $8,000. An economy seat on the same flight costs $400 to $700. A business class seat takes up roughly 4 times the space of an economy seat, but it generates 8 times to 12 times the revenue. On most long-haul international flights, business class represents about 10 to 15% of the seats. but over 40% of the total revenue. Emirates, Singapore Airlines, Qatar Airways, these carriers obsess over the business class product because that's where the actual profit lives. The economy cabin is the volume. The business cabin is the margin. Here's something most passengers genuinely don't know. Right now, underneath you in that plane, there is probably cargo. Every wide-body aircraft has a belly hold, and airlines fill that space with commercial freight, e-commerce packages, pharmaceuticals, fresh produce, electronics. Air cargo represents about 12% of airline revenue industry-wide. But during COVID, when passenger seats were empty, cargo saved the industry. Emirates stripped the seats out of some of their passenger planes and ran them as pure freighters. Qatar Airways did the same thing. They were shipping vaccines, PPE, and medical equipment when the world needed it most, and charging a premium for every kilo. Cargo doesn't complain. Cargo doesn't ask for a meal. Cargo doesn't recline into your space, and cargo pays per kilogram. Remember that at the start, I told you there was one revenue stream hiding in plain sight that makes more profits than every seat on every plane. Here it is. Frequent flyer miles. Or more specifically, the loyalty program that issues them. Now, I know what you are thinking. Miles? That's a peg program. That's not a business. And that is exactly what the airlines want you to think. Here's the restructure of frequent flyer program. And it's not what most people imagine. Airlines sell miles to banks. Banks give those miles to credit card holders when they spend money. Then card holders redeem the miles on flights. But here's the key insight. The airline sells the miles to the bank in bulk, upfront, for real cash. American Airlines sold miles to Citibank and Barclays for roughly 2 cents per mile. They have billions of miles outstanding. That's billions of dollars in cash already collected before a single passenger redeems a single flight. And when someone does redeem, the airline gives them a seat that might have been empty anyway. The margin cost of putting one passenger on an aircraft that's already flying is close to zero. The airline collected real money. It gave away a nearly free product. That's an extraordinary margin. During COVID, this became impossible to ignore. American Airlines was in crisis. The stock market valued the entire company at around $6 billion. When American Airlines used its loyalty program, AA Advantage, as collateral for a government loan, the loyalty program alone was valued at $24 billion. Let that land. The loyalty program was worth 4 times the rest of the airline. United Airlines did the same thing. Mileage Plus, valued at $21 billion. The airline itself, a fraction of that. Delta's Sky Miles program was valued at $26 billion. These are not peg programs. These are financial products. These are banks with wings attached. If you have watched this video to this point, it's obvious that you're interested in this kind of videos. If you want to keep seeing how businesses actually make their money, not just the surface story, you want to keep seeing breakdowns like this, then hit the subscribe button right there. It genuinely helps the channel. No pressure. Just hit it if you're in. Thank you. I know you might be wondering, so if airlines have all these revenue streams, why do they keep going bankrupt? Because the cost side of the business is just as extraordinary as the revenue side. The answer is 1. Fuel, the uncontrollable enemy. Fuel is typically 20 to 40% of an airline's total operating cost. It fluctuates widely based on oil prices, which the airline cannot control. When oil spiked in 2008, dozens of airlines went bankrupt within months. American Airlines, Alitalia, Skybus, ATA, gone or restructured. Airlines hedge fuel, meaning they buy oil contracts in advance to lock in prices. But hedging is a bet. If oil drops, you lose on the hedge. If oil spikes, you win. Southwest Airlines famously hedged fuel brilliantly in the early 2000s, locking in oil at low prices while competitors paid market rates. It saved them hundreds of millions of dollars and funded their growth while others struggled. Number 2 is labor, the constant negotiation. Airlines are intensely labor dependent. Pilots, cabin crew, mechanics, ground handlers, dispatchers. Pilot salaries are substantial. A senior captain at a major US carrier can earn over $300,000 a year. And right now, the industry faces a global pilot shortage. Aviation training takes years. After COVID grounded fleets, airlines cut pilots. When travel rebounded faster than expected, there wasn't enough crew to fly the planes. That's why you saw thousands of cancellations in 2022. Not because of weather, because of a people problem. Labor typically represents 25 to 35% of costs at major carriers. Over 50% of the global commercial fleet is leased. Aircraft leasing companies, AirCap, Airlines Corporation, SMBC Aviation, own the planes and rent them to airlines. If you want me to carefully break down how aircraft leasing companies make money, let me know in the comment section. So moving on, a new Boeing 737 MAX costs around $100 to $130 million. A wide-body 787 Dreamliner, $250 to $300 million. Leasing means airlines preserve cash but face fixed monthly payments regardless of whether passengers show up. That fixed cost structure is exactly why a pandemic or a recession can destroy an airline in weeks. Now let's talk about the airlines that found smarter ways to solve the profitability problem. The low-cost carrier model. Southwest Airlines invented a model that the whole industry still copies. One aircraft type, only Boeing 737s. That means one maintenance system, one pilot training program, one set of spare parts. The savings compound across thousands of flights. Point-to-point routing instead of hub and spoke. Fly directly between cities instead of connecting everyone through a central hub. Less time on ground, more time in the air. Fast turnaround. Southwest target ground time is 25 minutes. An aircraft sitting at a gate makes zero money. An aircraft in the air makes money. No assigned seats originally. Faster boarding, more flights per day. This model sounds simple. It is incredibly hard to execute. Royal Air mastered it in Europe and became one of the most profitable airlines in the world, despite having some of the cheapest tickets. 2 is the ultra premium model. On the opposite end, Singapore Airlines and Qatar Airways decided to win on quality. When you charge a passenger $15,000 for a first class suite, with a bed, a private door, a dine-on-demand menu, and a pyjama service, your revenue per seat is extraordinary. Singapore Airlines Suites class generates more revenue from 8 seats on an A380 than some regional airlines make from an entire flight. The economics of ultra-premium travel are almost separate from the rest of the cabin. You are not selling transportation. You are selling a luxury hotel room that happens to also be moving at 600 miles an hour. Code shares and alliances, the invisible network. Here's a strategy most passengers experience without understanding. When you book a Delta flight to Tokyo, you might actually be flying on a Japan Airlines plane. You got a Delta ticket number, but you are on someone else's plane. This is a code share agreement. 2 airlines share the same flight, sell seats under their own brand, split the revenue. And then there are global alliances, Star Alliance, OneWorld, SkyTeam, hundreds of airlines cooperating to offer passengers seamless worldwide connectivity while keeping their independence. These arrangements let airlines offer routes that could never profitably fly alone. A small African carrier can offer connection to Japan, not because it flies there, but because it's in alliance with someone who does. Where is the money going next? So let's talk about where the money is going next. You see, the airline business is on the edge of some significant disruptions, and the companies that understand the money side really understand it, and are positioning themselves right now. Sustainable aviation fuel, the cost shock coming. Sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, is made from waste materials, agricultural residue, or synthetic processes. It can reduce carbon emission by up to 80% compared to conventional jet fuel. It also costs 3 to 5 times as much. Governments are mandating increasing SAF blends. By 2030, EU airlines must use 6% SAF. By 2050, 70%. That cost will have to go somewhere. Either airlines absorb it and margins collapse further, or it comes back to you in the ticket price. The airlines investing in SAF supply chains right now. Locking in volume deals with SAF producers will have a cost advantage over those who wait. 2. Supersonic and premium short haul. Boom Supersonic is building a passenger aircraft, the Overture, that will fly from New York to London in 3.5 hours. American Airlines have pre-ordered 20. The business model is pure premium. If you can shorten a transatlantic business trip by 4 hours, what is that worth to a corporate traveler? Apparently, a lot. 3. Loyalty programs becoming fintech. You see, the smartest airlines are quietly evolving their loyalty programs into full financial service platforms. Miles that can be spent on hotels, retail, experiences, subscriptions, credit cards with complex spending tiers, partnerships with every major retailer. Some analysts believe that within a decade, the most profitable part of an airline group won't be the airline at all. It will be the financial services business that sits inside the loyalty program. Airlines aren't just in the transportation business anymore. They are in the data business, the finance business, the loyalty business. So, here's what you actually learned today. The ticket, the thing you think of as a product, is almost a loss leader. So, here's what you actually learned today. The ticket, the thing you think of as a product, is almost a loss leader. A way to fill seats so the real business can operate. The real business is fees, cargo, premium cabins, and most of all, loyalty programs that are essentially banks wrapped in aviation brand. The airlines that survive and even thrive are the ones that figured out how to make money from everything around the flight, not just the flight itself. And the ones that go bankrupt are almost always the ones that try to compete purely on price, without building those secondary revenue streams. Price without margin is just speed, and the runway runs out eventually. The lesson isn't just about airlines. Every business that figures out how to monetize the ecosystem around its core product, rather than just the product itself, has a shot at building something that actually lasts. If that kind of thinking is what you're here for, there's a lot more of it coming. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Thank you.